Hey there folks and friends, welcome back to the factory. Today we're going hell once again and I'll be making a custom Monster High doll of Charlotte Mang, Charlie for short, daughter of King Lucifer and Princess of Hell. Charlie is the protagonist of Hazbin Hotel and she's the third doll that I'm making from the show. The other two were Angel Dust back in June and we had Alastor at the end of July. Charlie is a lovely main character, and despite being Hellborn, she is colorful, vibrant and happy, very much full of good intentions. She's the owner and founder of the Happy Hotel, an establishment that is meant to rehabilitate sinners and permits them to enter heaven, which will also help with the overpopulation of hell. Her signature song is "Inside Every Demon is a Rainbow." Though, if you want to know more, I highly suggest you give the pilot a watch on Vivziepop's YouTube channel. And now, let's go to customizing. For Charlie, I am using a second-hand Catrine DeMew Monster High doll. I chose her for her skin tone, but also because she has an extremely cute face mold which would suit Charlie really well. First thing I did was to cut her hair short to be able to remove it easily. The glue seems to be in a really hard lump inside her head, so I'm hoping the water bath helps with that. I was preparing her at the same time as Princess Pluto, if you wonder who's that Cleo there. So yeah, I went in there with a flat screwdriver to scrape the plugs from the inside. A bit gnarly, but effective. I'm trying to pull the gunk mix of hair and glue through the neck hole, but even after a boiling water bath, that thing is solid and hard and it wasn't having any of it. So what now? Well, surgery. I went in to cut the cat ears out, and then I opened the back of her head to remove the glue. It's pretty disgusting indeed and sticky as hell. I will have to sew the head back close again, but between that and trying to get the hair out from the neck hole, I guess, well, I think I chose the most efficient route there. If you ever wonder why some Monster High heads are gross and oily, well, you have the glue to thank for it. I'm glad I'm getting rid of that. Now to clean the factory paint off of the doll's face, I am using nail polish remover that has 98% acetone, which is as close as pure acetone as I can get for a very low price point. Now for her hair. Usually I unwrap yarn and root the strands before brushing and ironing, but with this chunky yarn here I can't do that, because it's way too big. So instead I'm trying a pulling method I saw in another video. I am starting with flat ironing it and then I pull gently to get thin long sections. I'm going to use that for my reroots, grabbing the ends with my tool to keep as much length as possible. I will link said video in the description box below if you are interested. With yarn also, since it's ultimately fluffier than synthetic hair, you want to be mindful of the amount you put in. I'm always starting with the perimeter and the part, because that's where you want it to be the most thick. Though even, you can still safely reroute one hole on 2 or on 3 even. As for the rest of the head, I am also rerouting one hole on 2 or 3, but I am skipping a row on 2 as well. The most important thing is to have some hair all around to hide the scalp. If you wonder about the ears though, well, I was lucky when I cut them out, it left a thin plastic surface. I just poked through that with my tool when I got to these sections and it held just as well. Also, as a side note, when I do hair, I usually keep my flat iron nearby, because I like to work in sections. This also helps me gauge my progress and judge if I need more hair in some places. Even though there's no glue in the head yet, yarn will stay put if you're not too harsh on it. And oh yes, I had to reposition Charlie's part line. It's okay, you can always poke new holes in the scalp. Some reroute tools can go right in, but if not, you can use a needle to pre-punch them. As I said earlier, I like working in sections, so I've already isolated both sides and cleared the part line. I find it easier to do it now as I reroute than to wait at the end and fight with it. Though now, since everything is secured, I can cover the hair and prepare the head for the face-up. I usually call that the head burrito stage, and I think that came from watching Delightful. So now, let's start on the face. Like usual, the face was cleaned and then primed with at least 2 coats of Mr. Super Clear Sealant. Then I sketched her feature and started with blushing with some contouring. I am using Mungyo Gallery Soft Pastels and makeup brushes. Like I would do with makeup, I contour around her jawline, around her forehead and nose, and I cut the cheeks a little. I use a mix of browns, usually for that, going for a cooler shade to try to keep it a bit more close to life. Though if I were shading a cool skin tone like blue or green, I would have added a bit of warmth. I think playing with color temperature can add a little something else. Though with whites like this skin tone, it's basically a choose your own adventure kind of thing. It depends on what you want ultimately. Still on my first layer, I take a minute to start building the pink on her cheeks and her lip color. Charlie has black lips. I'm also trying to hint at a smile because, well, she has the most adorable smile ever, honestly. It's like a big sun right in the middle of hell. On layer 2, I start building her signature round blushing on top of my usual blush that goes around the eyes. I'm just making these points a lot more pigmented. I know parts of her design were inspired by a clown-ish aesthetic, and I'm not a fan of clown-esque dolls usually, but some characters are pretty cute, I have to be honest. And Charlie, well, I mean there's cute and then she's a level over that, like super cute over-the-top rainbow puppy kisses and cotton candy dreams kind of thing. I mean... So yeah, she's adorable, I want my doll to be adorable, I hope I can be adorable, and all of you are adorable, because yes, I do read all of my comments. You know it's getting good when I start building the eyebrow shape. For some reason though, even with my best effort I can never make them twins. The best I can do is sisters. I guess I struggle a lot with symmetry actually. Now, after a few layers of pastel, I grab my watercolor pencils. I mainly use Arteza, but I own a few high-end Steadler, like that yellow here. It's super pigmented. Charlie's eyes are black, but her scleras are, well, yellow. Her eyes are black, yes, but I would find it a bit bland in this case to just use grays and black to shade it, so I use dark blue and dark purple. I also like to use darker browns and reds sometimes. Just some key details though. I want them as accent, not as the main dish. I was keeping her lips thinner at this stage, looking to see if I liked that for a change. Catrine DeMew has quite the pout. I ultimately though did change their shape, but only with paints at the end of the process. I refrained from using black until the very end, but I used it liberally this time to do her eyeliner and lashes, among other things. right there, friend, is my only gripe about Arteza. The pencils are so easy to chip and break, way easier than anything I ever owned, and I'm trying to be very careful not to drop them, but yeah. Though they are good and they're affordable, and I still love them to bits, don't get me wrong. Now the finishing touches. I am using my watercolor paints here, and I do own some from Arteza and from Magigfly. I am using my smallest brushes to define even more details and go over other areas just to make them crisper. I am also adding a bit of texture here and there. That pink brush here is one of my best friends, and it's a nail art brush. If you struggle finding some affordable, small brushes, I at least suggest you look into that kind of stuff. I really love that stage of the face-up. I feel it brings everything together nicely and makes such a big difference. And there she is, all done. Though I did dust quite a lot of pink mica powder on her cheeks, just to make them super shiny. And of course the camera's not picking it up that well. Oh well. After removing her head cover, I went and undo her hair. Of course it's yarn, so it creased, that's pretty much inevitable. So yeah, I went in there and I flat ironed her again. Yeah, well again, my apologies. My autofocus is really just mean and annoying. But yeah, after I was done, I went to tie her hair. It's tied at 2 different heights, and yes, this is her true hairstyle now. As far as I know, it has been retconned since the pilot. It was also easier to do, so I guess win-win? And there she is, in her fluffy glory. I am in love with that yarn, it's so soft and shiny. Sadly, I don't remember the brand, so... well, yeah, throw away the packaging, so yeah. Mean, Sasha, mean. Now on to the hard part. Clothes. I did have to freight check absolutely everything, so I did that before cutting the pieces this time. It's keeping it as clean as possible. Okay, so that's the fabric for a jacket. I have 2 parts that will fold to do the front and the back, as well as 2 sleeves. I made it so it was larger in the back to be able to install a closure like Velcro at the end. Sleeves are always a bit counterintuitive to pin and sew, but once you get it, you're golden. As for the pattern, well, I use a modified version of the one I made for Angel Dusted shirts, but this time with only a pair of arms and no shoulder pads. Once the sleeves are attached, I go on to pin and sew the front, which is here on the right. I sew just one section in the middle though, leaving a V neckline and leaving it also a bit open at the bottom. That's what it looks like so far, and that's good enough to close it and sew the sides together. Just remember to sew them good sides facing inward so you can turn it when it's done, hiding all the seams. Well, I actually did not sew everything then, because I remembered that it was probably best and also easier to hem the jacket before closing the sides. There is also a bit of black fabric poking at the end of the sleeves, and there's no better time to add those than now. But once I was done with all of that, that's the result I got. I then grabbed my strongest glue and added some details like the collar, the bow tie, and the gem that's in the middle of the ladder. Now to make her pants, I cut two of these shapes. They were made from a Monster High size pattern I made months ago. Each one is one leg. I sew close that top opening I made on each, that is made to make the pants tighter around the waist, and once that's done, I am sewing the front crotch with both pieces of fabric with good sides facing inward. Once that's done, it should look like this, and you are ready to fold each leg on itself, again with good sides facing in. Of course, I learned nothing, so I had to remind myself again that it was better to hem and add the red trims now before the sides are fully closed. To make the trims fold nicely, I iron them. I don't show it often, but ironing your hems and seams is actually helping a lot with the overall look of your garments. It makes a huge difference. And here's my finished pants. I glued some pearls on them to mimic buttons. Okay, so my plan was to make a mock shirt without sleeves like I did with Alastor. I was not confident I could pull off 2 layers of clothing at this scales and make them look good. Overall, there was absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it fitted quite well. But you see, I once told myself not to settle for an okay result when I know I can do great. Since I still had time before my usual deadline, I decided I was going to try and do the full shirt. But now, another problem arose. The jacket I made was now too tight at the arms to accommodate for the sleeves. So I made another one. This time, I used Alastor's pattern as a base, with no shoulder pads of course, but instead of making the sleeves like a long tube, I angled them to go from tighter at the wrists and progressively larger until I reached the shoulder. That's a much better fit, and now Charlie will be able to rock both looks like she did in the pilot episode. Though, now that she can remove her jacket, I need to give her those cute suspenders. I had a bit of faux suede and I tried to play with it to see how I could angle them for them to both look good and fit nicely despite Monster High dolls having the most extreme back arch there is in the fashion doll world. I had to settle to make the ends really close to the beginnings for it to follow the back curves, but it both does the job and is removable, so I'm satisfied. Now, if you watch my Alastor video, you know how much I despise making shoes from scratch. I'm not Poppin' Atelier, and I have no idea how she does it. Did she make a pact with an overlord? Anyways, I went simple and I picked a cute pair of shoes to modify. I only needed to remove the molded seashells on these ones. I carefully cut them out, and then I used different grits of sandpaper to smooth everything nicely. Charlie has black and white dress shoes. I keep the color scheme similar, but I decided to go with the sculpt instead of fighting against it for the sake of being accurate. These were nice the way they were after all. For a smoother finish, I watered down my acrylic paint just a little bit. I don't know if you heard my roommate blowing his nose, but yeah, allergies. Once the paint was dry, I mixed some Mod Podge with a tiny bit of water and some shiny mica powders to make those shoes shine. I used pearly white and glossy black for Magigfly, and it looks so good I'm kind of obsessed with the result. Little random fact here. Also, yay for paint on the ends! I was that kid who always found a way to put paint everywhere, even on the forehead. Did not stop when I reached 30 years old, sadly. When I do art, I'm messy, like really messy. Messy, focused and chaotic. But yeah, Catrine's hands have molded on gloves and no, that did not work. So I swapped them with another random pair and I just painted them white. Okay, so now you probably wonder why I'm rolling a ball of yarn fluff with some Mod Podge, right? Well, I was on a high after redoing her clothes to be much nicer, so I wanted her hair to be nicer too. So I'm going to glue that ball in her hair here and cover it well, just to give the illusion of a lot of volume. And yes, these are yarn wefts on the side. I figured I could add them around the base of her last section of hair to make it longer, fuller, and thicker. In the end, I think I made her hair too long and way too thick, but I'm not mad at it. It doesn't look crazy either, so yay for big hair! Charlie is getting all the good stuff. I used a bit of hair gel to try to tame some flyaways, but these are everywhere with this yarn. And now folks, believe it or not, but we are done. All I need to do is to dress this lady up and show you the end result. I've started doing this recently, so I'm going to address it. Yes, I've cut part of the neck peg off. You really only need that round base for the doll to hold its head and move. Since the doll won't be played with, I decided to remove the extra bits. It makes it a little easier to put the head back on and probably to remove it if I ever need to. Because yes, I like to sometimes do maintenance and glow up on some of my own dolls that are in my collection. I try to also offer that to my customers if possible, because after all, you never know. Though now, you're not here to hear a lecture about doll upkeep, you're here to meet my Charlie, so without further ado, people, folks, Charlotte Mang. Some of you in the comments asked me why Alastor did not have a deer tail, and the answer is, well, he did, but it wasn't finished in time. I mean, his leg broke like 3 days before the video came out, so time was against me, I'm sorry, and well, here, you can enjoy it now. And now as for the future of this series, it's yes, I will do more. And you know who you are, but I'm telling you directly now, I will do Stolas. Not only will I do Stolas, but also Vaggy and Cherry Bomb for sure, absolutely certain. They are my next 3 in this series. I also got some requests for Valentino, Husk, Nifty, and I think I saw Vox. Also, the cast of Helluva boss, especially Luna, though if I do her, it's probably gonna be in human form. I just want to finish my remaining 2 Sailor Moon dolls somewhere, and I have some Halloween projects that I want to get done too, so You'll get videos again, but one about every 2 weeks, and I'll eventually do a lot more in this series. I'm just gonna juggle the projects a little bit for the next few. And now, as for putting some dolls on sale. Well, I am not, at the moment, selling any of my Hazbin Hotel or Helluva dolls. I might put some on sale on a later date, if I can, but I'm not sure, and if this happens, it's likely gonna be announced on my Instagram, probably on my Facebook page, and maybe in my community tab here on my channel on YouTube. As for now, there's something I need off my chest, folks. Have you seen the last Helluva episode? I mean, oh my microphone! That animated fight scene! Those dream sequences! Moxie as a Disney princess and that scary ending! I rewatched that scene countless times, I told you. I love Stolas. I'm here for that, 100%. And, Blitz is kind of a tsundere sometimes, is he? Well, I sure hope he is. Because, well, I am here for it. More gay, all the gay, never enough gay! Calm down, Sasha, you are 32. So, well, that's all, folks. Thank you for watching this video. Leave me a comment if you have any thoughts. I absolutely loved chatting with y'all. In the meantime, though, like always, please stay safe.